Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 Part 170 based on novel. So let's start. He was considered half a spiritual type soul master. However, he had many evil tricks up his sleeves too. His demonic maggot also contained a lethal poison. This was why his abilities were actually mixed. Right now, the masquerade Dolor was already very stiff in the air. He was just like the maggots that were struck by Huiyuhao's spiritual blast earlier. This isn't good. Nangong Wan was horrified. Although he didn't know how the masquerade Dolor was, he knew that the situation wasn't good from how stiff his body was, and how Elder Song had appeared behind him. How is this possible? No matter what, the masquerade Dolor is a title Dolor. Even an ultimate Dolor can't kill him instantly. To become a title Dolor, one had to be very strong. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to handle the strength of a soul core. However, why did the masquerade Dolor seem like he was? However, Elder Song's attack also exposed Huiyuhao. It was as if Huiyuhao was facing the heavenly centipede Nangong Wan. The huge centipede crashed down on him with a terrifying and dominant aura. However, what Nangong Wan only saw a grin on Huiyuhao's face. A projection flashed before Huiyuhao transformed into the masquerade Dolor. At this moment, Nangong Wan was already so close that he couldn't retract his attack. As a dark green light flashed, the masquerade Dolor was instantly torn to pieces. Under the effect of the poison from the heavenly centipede true body, he was instantly dissolved, and turned into dark green liquid that dripped down. Is Masquerade dead? Nangong Wan was horrified. Although he didn't know how Huiyuhao had switched the Masquerade Dolor over, it was evident that the Masquerade Dolor had been dealt a lethal blow, given how he was completely helpless against his attack. Right now, Huiyuhao nicely appeared where the Masquerade Dolor was earlier. He had used his spiritual duplication to duplicate the Xuanwu displacement. He had used the Xuanwu displacement many times, and had started to really like this soul skill. It's definitely a life-saving ultimate skill. The only problem is that I need to find Shu Sanxia to duplicate it again every 3 times I use it. Nangong Wan wasn't the only one who was astonished by the masquerade Dolor's death. Even Elder Song was shocked. She would never expect a title Dolor to be so weak. In fact, the masquerade Dolor's defense collapsed the moment they had clashed with each other. Originally, Elder Song had thought that the masquerade Dolor was critically hurt by her only. Everything happened too quickly. When Nangong Wan completely disintegrated the masquerade Dolor, Huiyuhao had already slipped behind Elder Song. Nangong Wan tensed up before his heavenly centipede true body squirmed. After this, he opened his mouth wide and released a poisonous fog that engulfed Elder Song and Huiyuhao. I can't fight anymore. The masquerade Dolor's death was too weird. He was so weirded out that he started to become fearful. Although he knew that he was stronger than the masquerade Dolor, he also knew that this difference wasn't very big. He didn't want to die here. This was why he had already made up his mind to flee just as he released his poisonous fog. His poisonous fog was very strong. It was his origin skill. No soul power could sweep it away. It could only be avoided. It could even cover a large area. It was the best skill he could use to escape. However, at this moment, the temperature of the air fell significantly. The already chilly night sky turned even colder. Following this, thick snow started to fall from the sky. The poisonous fog that he released contained water too. Suddenly, the water in the fog froze, causing the fog to become much thinner. After this, a blizzard raged. Although the fog couldn't be dissipated by soul power, it was still useless against the snow that fell. The extremely low temperature also greatly restricted Nangong Wan's speed. An illusory beam of rose gold light seemed to turn from illusory to real at this moment as it landed on Nangong Wan. Nangong Wan groaned, and his spirit shook tremendously. He immediately detached from his heavenly centipede true body. A green projection arrived in front of Nangong Wan. All Nangong Wan saw was a mighty green shadow godly eagle. Birds were the natural nemesis of scorpions. This was even more so for the green shadow godly eagle. Nangong Wan, who had just sustained an attack from Huayuhao's spiritual shock, could only conjure his soul power to forcefully clash with Elder Song. The absolute difference in their abilities was demonstrated at this moment. Nangong Wan groaned before he was flung away, spitting blood. Elder Song's green shadow godly eagle immediately flew above his head. It was exactly at this moment that a weird white whirlpool appeared above Nangong Wan. He only felt very confused and blurred after he was dealt such a heavy blow. He wanted to use his protective skill, but he couldn't do it. The green shadow godly eagle was now above him, and the eagle pierced its sharp talons into his shoulders. Sharp soul power instantly surged into Nangong Wan's body. He screamed in pain once again. His own soul power had been sealed, and he had lost the ability to resist. From the start until the end, the fight lasted less than a minute. Out of the two evil titled Dolor, one was killed, and the other was captured. The green shadow godly eagle turned to look at Huayuhao. Huayuhao seemed to be very free right now. He flew towards Elder Song and gave her a thumbs up. "Let's go, Elder Song." The eagle opened its mouth, and Elder Song's voice sounded. "You? It seems like my decision was right to let you command this operation. Let's go." As she spoke, she had already fluttered her wings, and turned into a streak of green light before charging straight toward Heavenly Spirit City. Huayuhao used his imitation to hide himself once again before following closely behind her. Elder Song's compliment wasn't without justification. Huayuhao's abilities left her very impressed. The fight earlier was a clash between three titled Dolor, but in fact, Elder Song clearly knew that the entire fight was under Huayuhao's control. He was definitely a deserved control-type soul master. From his mass enfeeblement at the start, Huayuhao used some kind of method to weaken the Masquerade Dolor's defense. After that, Elder Song unleashed her full strength at the Masquerade Dolor. That was because Huayuhao had asked her to do it through his spiritual detection. Otherwise, why would Elder Song abandon Huayuhao to attack the Masquerade Dolor just as the heavenly centipede was approaching him? Elder Song didn't think of that. Naturally, their enemies didn't think of that either. This was how the Masquerade Dolor was killed. Huayuhao controlled the entire proceedings, using his Xuanwu displacement to escape from danger. Just as the heavenly centipede wanted to escape, he used a domain-type skill to neutralize the poisonous fog. At the same time, he used his spiritual-type attack to stall Nangong Wan and knock him out of his martial soul true body. Elder Song came at that point, preventing him from protecting himself with all his strength. Huayuhao had even offered Nangong Wan his spiritual confusion before Elder Song attacked. Elder Song believed that she could win against both titled Dolor even if she fought them herself. However, it would have been very difficult to keep them in the fight. It would have already been good enough if she could kill one of them. However, it would have taken time. The Masquerade Dolor controlled, while the heavenly centipede attacked. If they complemented each other well, they wouldn't have been easy to deal with. However, those two evil soul masters were completely under Huayuhao's thumb, and got outplayed. Although they might not have been aware of his abilities, one couldn't discount his power either. What Elder Song truly felt was that all her abilities seemed to have been boosted when she fought alongside Huayuhao. During the fighting, it was an unprecedentedly great feeling. Right now, she understood why he was such a symbolic figure in the Tang sect. He was very strong. As there were two evil soul masters dealing with Elder Song and Huayuhao, the Sun Moon Empire didn't send anyone else to attack. When they realized something was amiss, Elder Song and Huayuhao had already vanished. The two evil soul masters had also vanished. They silently returned to Heavenly Spirit City. Nangong Wan had already been knocked out by Elder Song, and they brought him back to the courtyard. The rest hadn't gone to sleep yet. They were waiting for Huayuhao and Elder Song to return. Elder Song, who is this? Nan Qiuqiu was waiting in the courtyard. When she saw Huayuhao and Elder Song returning with Nangong Wan, she immediately rushed up to receive them. Elder Song smiled and answered, "We've caught an evil soul master. I'm sure we'll get something if we question him. The rest all walked out from their rooms. Yang Shaosha received them. As he saw Nangong Wan, he revealed a pensive look on his face. Nangong Wan looked very pathetic right now. His shoulders were already stained red with blood. Elder Song had crippled the passageways in his arms and sealed his soul power. He was completely disabled now. Elder Song, why is this person so familiar to me? Yang Shaosha asked doubtfully. Elder Song replied, you're right if he's familiar to you. His Nangong Wan, the heavenly centipede. Yang Shaosha instantly opened his eyes wide. That's actually the heavenly centipede Doluo, Nangong Wan. No wonder he seemed so familiar. When I was out exploring after I graduated from the academy, I once interacted with him. His martial soul was very difficult to deal with, especially with the poison in it. I wanted to kill him then, but his poison was too strong. Eventually, he escaped. I didn't expect him to land in your hands today. Elder Song shook her head and said, he didn't exactly land in my hands. Yu Hao and I teamed up to capture him. To be honest, I'm starting to like the idea of fighting alongside Yu Hao. With him around, I feel that my powers have increased. Yang Shaosha didn't expect Elder Song to think so highly of Yu Hao and laughed. Elder Song, don't spoil my little junior like that. Elder Song chortled and said, I mean what I say. Yu Hao's spiritual power is not inferior to any spiritual type titled Doluo. Apart from his cultivation being slightly weaker, his control and auxiliary abilities are definitely not inferior to a titled Doluo. For fights at our tier, it would be of great help if he were around. Yu Hao was a little embarrassed as he said, Elder Song, you praise me too much. Elder Song smiled without saying anything. Yang Shaosha laughed, little junior, don't be so humble. Come, tell us how you faced the heavenly centipede Doluo and describe the entire fighting process. Yu Hao looked at Elder Song. After Elder Song gave him permission, he described how he had met and fought the two evil soul masters in detail. After hearing that he had killed another evil titled Doluo, Yang Shaosha couldn't laugh anymore. As they were not that strong yet, those from the Tang sect didn't participate in fights against titled Doluo. However, Yang Shaosha was clearly aware of the abilities of evil titled Doluo. He knew how frustrating they were to deal with him. He questioned whether he could deal with two evil soul masters in such a short time even if he teamed up with Elder Song. From Yu Hao's description, it seemed like the two evil soul masters were killed even before they managed to unleash their full strength. Yu Hao's spirit eyes are very mysterious. No wonder Elder Song is so in awe of him. No wonder he's a leading figure of the new generation. No wonder teacher mentioned that the academy would have a pillar once Yu Hao grows up. The academy's reputation as the top academy on the continent is destined to continue on. Yu Hao? Yang Shaosha suddenly turned serious and looked at Yu Hao. Yes? Dean Yang. Yu Hao didn't understand why Yang Shaosha had suddenly become so serious. Yang Shaosha said, after this operation ends, don't go out so often anymore. Remain in the Tang sect or on Sea God's Island to cultivate. It's best if you wait until your cultivation reaches that of a titled Doluo before you leave again. Yu Hao didn't expect Yang Shaosha to say this. He revealed a bitter smile on his face. The Tang sect already had a teacher Xian who wouldn't let him leave the sect. Now there was Dean Yang as well. Elder Song nodded in agreement and said, Shaosha is right. After we return this time, I'll talk to Elder Xian. Don't leave Shrek City so easily in the future. Elder Song, Dean Yang, why is that? Xiao Xiao asked, puzzled. Yang Shaosha smiled and answered, the academy can't afford to lose him. Yu Hao is too important to the academy's future. Even though soul tools have become the trend of late, individual abilities are still of critical importance at the highest level. In the future, the academy will need someone who is very strong. Yu Hao is shaping up to be this person. He was like teacher back then. He's even surpassed him. This is why we can't let him take any risks. Elder Song nodded. She completely agreed with Yang Shaosha's point of view. Yu Hao laughed bitterly and said, titled Doluo, That'll take some time. But there are no buts, Elder Song said. No matter what happens, nothing is more important than your successful development. Whatever you want to achieve outside, the academy can help you. However, you must remain within Shrek City. Bei, you are responsible for watching him after we return. If he sneaks off, I'll question you. Yes? Bei revealed a smile on his face. He secretly thought to himself. It seems like I don't have to worry about little Junior's safety for some time now. Hui Yuhao coughed and said, Elder Song, Dean Yang, we should interrogate Nangong Wan first. Let's see if we can find out where Teacher Xiao Ya is. Elder Song nodded and said, I'm afraid it'll be difficult. Evil soul masters are very twisted. They aren't afraid of dying. Furthermore, we can't force them to say anything. What ideas do you have? Hui Yuhao said, I can use my spiritual power to interfere with his thoughts and question him from there on, forcing him to tell the truth. However, my spiritual power must be far beyond his before I can do that, and he's a title Doluo. Even if his soul power is sealed, his spiritual power is still very strong. I'm afraid it'll be difficult. Yang Xiaoxia's eyes shone with a cold light. That's simple. I'll just make him sufficiently weak. A person's mind is greatly connected to his body. When someone is weakened beyond a certain degree, his mind will also become weak and vulnerable. You can exploit that opportunity to question him. Hui Yuhao nodded and said, if that's the case, I'll give it a go. Everyone else can go back and rest. Xiaoxia, Yuhao, follow me. Elder Song grabbed Nangong Wan with one hand and walked toward a room where no one was staying. Bei said, Elder Song, let me tag along. He was really anxious about Tang Ya's whereabouts. Elder Song nodded and said, all right, you can come along. The four of them led Nangong Wan into the room. Elder Song passed Nangong Wan over to Yang Xiaoxia and said, Xiaoxia, you can take over. Yang Xiaoxia nodded and said, let me take a look at his condition first to first check whether he has any restrictions placed on him. Gentle white light shone from Yang Xiaoxia's hand. He used his palms to quickly slap Nangong Wan's body. As he started slapping, Nangong Wan started shaking. At the beginning, the shaking was very gentle. However, as Yang Xiaoxia slapped him even harder, Nangong Wan's body started to shake more and more. To a title Doluo, the power of his soul core was the core of his strength. Elder Song was using her soul power to seal Nangong Wan's soul core such that it spun at a slower speed. From there, it would be unable to provide him enough soul power. Yang Xiaoxia only checked for 15 minutes before he stopped. He nodded at Elder Song and said, it should be fine. Even the Holy Ghost Church will find it difficult to put any restrictions on him, given his cultivation. Elder Song nodded and said, let's start then. What do you plan to do? Yang Xiaoxia's eyes flashed coldly. I'll cripple his soul core first and allow his soul power to dissipate. In this way, he won't harm anyone anymore. Furthermore, without his soul power to support him, his body will become very weak, even with his great spiritual power. Elder Song nodded and said, all right, we'll do that then. You can do it. I'll protect you. You have to be prepared. After we cripple his soul power, we don't know what kind of reaction we will elicit. We need to keep from descending into hysteria. Yes. Hui Yuhao walked to one side and sat cross-legged on a chair. He temporarily took a rest to restore his energy. Yang Xiaoxia stood in front of the bed that they had laid Nangong Wan out in. His hands formed a ring in front of his body. Gentle white soul power surged out and gradually turned dim gold. The soul power undulations that were released also started to dance like flames. The soul power slowly formed a whirlpool that drifted above Nangong Wan. It wasn't easy trying to cripple a title Doluo's soul core. It was like what had happened when Hui Yuhao performed the test. A huge explosion could occur if one soul core was affected. If the soul core of a title Doluo exploded, it could potentially be very dangerous. If a title Doluo died, just like the masquerade Doluo, things would still be fine. This was because the soul core of a dead title Dolor would shrink and slowly vanish as he gradually lost his life energy. Even if an explosion occurred, it would happen in another dimension. It wouldn't affect this world. However, to cripple a soul master's soul core before he was dead was much more troublesome. A soul master's soul core depended on the soul master's life energy. To cripple his soul core, the soul power in his soul core had to be guided out, and the soul core had to be destroyed just as it was at its weakest point. The white flames that revolved above Nangong Wan spun even faster. A white whirlpool subtly appeared in front of Yang Xiaoxia's belly. That was where his soul core was located at. Yang Xiaoxia was a transcendent Dolor. As Elder Mu's inheriting disciple and the Dean of Shrek Academy's Martial Soul Department, he was very strong. His Radiant Phoenix was a top-ranked martial soul, and he was a transcendent Dolor. All these years, his soul power had been slowly improving. He was now a rank 96 title Dolor. Compared to Elder Song, he was only inferior by 1 rank. Although the difference in this 1 rank was very great, Yang Xiaoxia might not be much weaker than Elder Song if he fought her with his full strength, considering that his martial soul was much stronger. Right now, the aura of his soul core was released. Hu Yuhao, who was resting, had some kind of feeling. He didn't need to open his eyes, and he only silently sensed the soul power undulations from Yang Xiaoxia's body. He was secretly impressed. Yang Xiaoxia's soul power was also circulating in a whirlpool state around his soul core. However, the circulation of his soul power was much slower compared to Hu Yuhao. That was because his soul power was completely fluid. If Hu Yuhao's soul core was like a tornado in the sky, then Yang Xiaoxia's soul core was like a huge whirlpool that could devour everything in the ocean. The soul power that it contained was much greater. A title Dolor is indeed a title Dolor. As Hu Yuhao was secretly in awe, he was also reflecting on himself. As his abilities increased, his self-confidence also grew. He was even confident of fighting some title Dolor. However, the aura that Yang Xiaoxia exuded right now made him fully aware of how far inferior he was. Wasn't that the case? Although he appeared to have controlled the fight earlier, that was because Elder Song was around. If not for her, he would be dead against an evil title Dolor even if it was just a duel. If those 2 evil title Dolor had unleashed their full strength right from the start, he wouldn't have been able to take advantage or even handle a fight at that tier. Elder Song and Dean Yang were both right. He had to be stronger. After he returned this time, he had to work harder on his cultivation as he learned about soul tools from Teacher Xian. At least he had to fully absorb the manifold mysterious ice essence in his body first. As Hu Yuhao was thinking about all that, Yang Xiaoxia began. The white whirlpool above Nangong Wan slowly descended. The sharp part of it landed directly on Nangong Wan's dantian. When it touched Nangong Wan's body, Nangong Wan shuddered and regained consciousness. When he saw the flame on his body as he awoke, he was astonished. He clearly felt that his soul power was quickly seeping out from his dantian. It slowly dissipated, and as it dissipated, it entered another dimension. They're trying to cripple my soul power. Nangong Wan was horrified as he said, No, you can't do this. You've harmed so many people, Yang Xiaoxia said coldly. We are only carrying out justice. We are already being very merciful by not killing you. It's a good thing to get rid of your abilities as an evil soul master. No, I beg you. Leave me some soul power. I'll let you do whatever you want. To a title Dolor, the dissipation of his soul power was too terrifying. He was too used to having great strength. The moment he lost a goal would be more tormenting than death itself. Yang Xiaoxia was moved and asked, Oh, you let me do whatever I want. Nangong Wan couldn't move and could only speak, yes. I'll do anything you want. If you need me to, I can become an undercover agent in the Holy Ghost Church. You can put restrictions on my body. As long as you let me keep my soul power, I'm willing to do anything. Elder Song furrowed her brow and looked at Yang Xiaoxia. On the other side, Hu Yuhao had also slowly opened his eyes. They didn't expect Nangong Wan to be so spineless. Alright, let me ask you a few questions first, Yang Shaoxia said. However, the whirlpool was still sucking away his soul power. Nangong Wan answered in pain, "Can you stop sucking away my soul power first?" Yang Shaoxia snorted coldly and said, "As long as a title Dolor's soul core isn't destroyed, isn't it easy to restore his soul power? We can leave it like this. It'll keep you awake too. Let me ask you now. Answer me as quickly as possible. If you hesitate, I'll destroy your soul core. You only have one chance. Don't test my determination. Alright. Ask me then." Nangong Wan knew that he was doomed. In front of a transcendent Dolor, there was no way he could take his chances. "Where's the Holy Ghost Church's headquarters?" Yang Shaoxia asked. After hearing his question, Nangong Wan was stunned, then laughed bitterly. "I can't tell you. Before I entered the church, and all those who were able to enter the headquarters had restrictions placed on them. Once we reveal anything, the restriction will be triggered. Surely you don't want me to blow apart, right?" Yang Shaoxia was afraid in his heart. If not for Hu Yuhao's previous experience, he would have his doubts. However, he was convinced this time. In spite of this, he remained very stern. "You're a titled Dolor. Who can place those restrictions on you?" As he spoke, he immediately strengthened the suction of Nangong Wan's soul power. Nangong Wan hurriedly said, "I really can't say anything. Our supreme leader was the one who personally placed the restrictions on us. Apart from her, the sect leader, vice-sect leader, and the chief of the worship hall, everyone else in the sect has had restrictions placed on them. Once we mention where our headquarters is, we'll immediately blow up and die." Yang Shaoxia furrowed his brow. "Does this mean that the Holy Ghost Church can take your life at any time if you betray them?" Nangong Wan said, "That won't happen. It's not easy placing restrictions on someone to control them. The Supreme Leader's curse can only be triggered through a very specific way. It's only when I entertain the thought of revealing the specific place in my head. Apart from this, there won't be any other effect. So this curse can't be removed?" Yang Shaoxia asked. Nangong Wan laughed bitterly. "It's not impossible. If someone's spiritual power is greater than the Supreme Leader's, this curse can still be removed. However, it's too difficult. The Supreme Leader is an ultimate Dolor. She's too strong." Yang Shaoxia nodded and asked, "Alright, let me ask you then. How many people are there in the Holy Ghost Church? How are they divided?" This time, Nangong Wan didn't hesitate, and immediately said, "The most powerful figure in the Holy Ghost Church is our Supreme Leader, who is also the Sun Moon Empire's death god Dolor. Apart from her, we also have our sect leader and vice-sect leader. They are married. Our sect leader is called Zhongli Wu, while our vice-sect leader is called Feng Ling. We have 8 honorary elders below them, who are all titled Dolor. There are evil soul masters of different tiers underneath these 8 elders. Apart from all of us, there are also special people in our church, including the 2 holy ladies. Great hope has been placed on them. They are very talented. That's why they hold important positions in the church. They are even more important than the 8 honorary elders. The evil soul masters in the Holy Ghost Church Worship Hall are the strongest. The Hall Master of the Worship Hall, who is also the chief of the Worship Hall, is the Darkness Holy Dragon and Dragon Emperor Dolor, Long Xiaoyao. He has 11 others in the Worship Hall under him. They are all titled Dolor, and 5 of them are even transcendent Dolor. Including the chief, there are 12 of them. Their statuses are very high in the church. Only the Supreme Leader can command them. Even the sect leader can't do so." Yang Shaoxia and Elder Song looked at each other. They had really benefited greatly from catching Nangong Wan this time. Such information was too valuable to Shrek Academy and the 3 empires of the original Dolor continent. Finally, they had some knowledge of the Holy Ghost Church's internal structure. According to Nangong Wan, the Holy Ghost Church had more than 20 titled Dolor, including 2 ultimate Dolor. They were indeed very strong. Bei continued asking from one side, why aren't the 8 honorary elders in the worship hall if they are titled Dolor too? Nangong Wan replied, the worshipped are hired by the church. They aren't all evil soul masters. The 8 elders have lineages related to the church. That's why they are different. Furthermore, those that are evil soul masters in the worship hall are all very talented. Their martial souls are also very strong. For example, the scorpion tiger Dolor Zhongpeng is one of them. Bei asked again, apart from you and the masquerade Dolor, who else from the Holy Ghost Church is at the front line? Is the masquerade Dolor one of the 8 honorary elders? Nangong Wan answered, masquerade is ranked 7th among the elders. Apart from the 2 of us, the sect leader is also at the front line. There's the sect leader, a holy lady and 6 members from the worship hall. Excluding me and masquerade, there are 2 other honorary elders here. I'm ranked 2nd among the elders. Out of the other 2 elders, one is the 3rd elder, the Dark Lightning Dolor. Although his soul power is only at rank 92, he's also a class 9 soul engineer. His abilities aren't beneath mine. The other one is the 4th elder, the Netherworld Dolor. His martial soul is a Netherworld sword, and he's at rank 93. After hearing the words 3rd elder and 4th elder, Hu Yuhao suddenly jumped off from his seat. He revealed a hateful look on his face. If not for their ambush then, Wang Qiao wouldn't have needed to sacrifice herself. Hu Yuhao deeply hated the both of them. Yang Shaozhe squinted and muttered to himself, the Holy Ghost Church is really relentless. They actually have 11 evil titled Dolor. This time, we killed one of them and captured another one, but there are still 9 left. These evil soul masters are definitely more terrifying than class 9 stationary soul cannons if they join the war. I remember news from the Heavenly Soul Empire that purported that the borders of the empire were only breached because of the evil soul masters, and the great casualties they caused. The same happened when Heaven Do City was attacked. Hu Yuhao came to the bedside at this moment, suppressing his hatred and asked, what are your holy ladies called? And where are they? Nangong Wan said, they have no name. We call them Holy Lady directly. The one at the front line right now is the Blue Silver Holy Lady. The other one, known as the Phoenix Holy Lady, is with the vice sect leader. The Blue Silver Holy Lady follows the sect leader, as he holds an important position. He stays in the tent next to the central tent in the Imperial Dragon Soul Engineer Legion's area. It's easy to identify because it's golden. The Blue Silver Holy Lady stays in a tent beside his. This video will end here.